Hey there, boys and girls of the YouTube world. Join along as Duff and I take this 1974 Chevrolet chop top shortbed and do some sweet burnouts and make this thing way better than it has been in a very, very long time. So the story on this thing is, way back when it was much, much warmer, we got this thing in south central Minnesota. Got brakes?
Yeah. Sorry, I just like some gravel on your truck. Sorry.
So anyways, you'll see this thing was owned by Headers by Ed and is nicknamed Brown Sugar. So anyway, this thing is a short bed, square body Chevrolet pickup that's been chopped. I like chopped tops, not on square bodies, but I missed this thing twice on Marketplace, so I missed it once. The second time, I was actually able to snag it up. This thing's got a small block and an automatic, and it kind of ran around the yard. It's running off a boat tank already, done a lot of the things that we do to revivals. Let's make it a little bit better. Let's see if we can't make this thing road worthy. So here we go. You can see this has got the early egg crate grill shell, the best one of all the square body grills. And it's in pretty minty shape. Other than the emblem, which they all peel up. It's got a lot of cool pinstriping everywhere on it. You can see it's already nicknamed for us, Brown Sugar. It's got some big old fatty Bridgestone dualers on it and the modular wheels. I'm guessing by the deep dish that these are 10s. It doesn't have the drip rails, which was factory in 1973. So it might be a 73, could be a 74, who knows. It's got the terrible moonroof cut in it. Now, I'm guessing they had to lengthen the roof in order to chop it, because as it goes down, it gets wider. And I'm guessing they didn't want to fill in the whole roof, so they put a moonroof in it. Plus, they thought it was cool. Joke's on them, not cool. Right, Duff? Sunroofs, not cool unless they're factory, and even then it's debatable. Looks like based on all these snaps that they had a tonneau cover on there. What are you digging for? Looks like Ed also did cylinder head work. I would have went by cylinder head Ed instead of header Ed. Also did some glass bead cleaning. I don't know what's going on with the what's happening monkey. I assume that's a monkey. There's his decal and his phone number, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Wish we could find out who pinstriped all this. I'm sure we can if we dig deep enough, or somebody could comment down below. If you knew any history on this thing, comment down below. It's got the typical rust behind the wheels. Of course, it's from Minnesota, so it's got rust everywhere. I did scrounge up some narrower modulars to put on the front, but you'll see we're not going with that. It's already got the C10 boat tank in her. Even comes with a tire iron, a little rust in the bed floor behind the wheels. Pretty common there too. Even chopped down a rear sliding window. How neat is that? How neat is that? The guy I got it from started doing some body work. Thankfully, he quit. Got the fuel hose run along the side. Rear view mirrors, don't need those. They must have shortened up all the glass, but the wing windows, they did that with plexiglass, unfortunately. So I'm sure those wing windows whistle even more than the stock wing windows. I would have my compadre open the hood, but he's over there hunting. Hey, you. Come open this hood. Fine, I'll do it myself. It's hard to find good help these days. Well, see you later.
Well, see you later.
All right, be prepared for amazement. This guy must have opened J.C. Whitney and bought everything chrome that they offered for square body Chevy. That, or he had a contact at the Croman shop. According to this tag, she's a 74 and came with either a 350 or a 400 with a 2-barrel. So here's where the chrome starts. We got the radiator hold down, chromed, alternator bracket, chrome, valve covers, chrome, both sides, and chrome caps, chrome Edelbrock air cleaner, even chrome hood hinges. How about that?
How about that?
Chrome jack hold down, chrome spare tire tool hold down, custom battery box, and of course the headers by Ed, complete with tag. Those are some pretty ornate headers. And they didn't even have to cut up the frame rail to install them. So there is no battery, but I did drive this thing to where it sits last fall. It didn't run very well, but it ran. It's got an HEI, they always run. And even better than a Quadrajet, it's got an Edelbrock. 1405, so we got the manual choke. All right, let's go grab a battery. throw in this bad boy, see if we can't get her to fire up. This week's battery sponsor is Balls Capone. You too can be a battery sponsor at mortske.com. Battery's hooked up. Let's throw a little hot sauce down that old brack to make life a little bit easier for our starter, because we don't want to be putting one of those on this bad boy. I'm a little disappointed that it's got a wing nut and somebody didn't use a hex nut on here. It really needed the chrome wing nut or the tri-bar spinner wing nut or something. Yeah. It would have really went well with the electrical tape plugging the vacuum port. But don't worry, they have a giant washer on there for some reason. Probably because it's got a giant hole. Give it a little trickle of the hot sauce, fill up the float bowls. See if this bad boy will light off. It ran when parked. I actually parked it here. Oh, the steering wheel's sticky and it's even below freezing. Oh, and the sunroof leaks and the seat is wet. Come on, try number 2. I could really play it off like the engine's stuck like some channels do just because the starter went click, but we don't do that around here because we're real stupid. How come it popped once? Don't make me get burny. We're out of hot sauce. What if we hold the choke closed? Come on, brown sugar. He likes to choke, but when it backfires, it blows the choke open. I lost the nipple from a hot sauce bottle when I threw it. Guess we'll have to find another vacuum plug. Or in the case of brown sugar, electrical tape. So if we pull back on this lever, right there, now she should be choked. Oh yeah, it's got a chrome fuel filter, and it's pumping. Surely that brown gas in the fuel filter can't be bad. If only there was a choke cable hooked up. Good enough. Oh, those chrome hood hinges don't even make the hood all kinky. So that's what I seem to remember about this thing, having to rev it to the moon and play with the foot feed all the time because I think there's a vacuum leak, a real bad one. Anyway, let's see if we can't limp this thing in the shop, check it out, figure out what that is, figure out if it's got brakes, maybe put some tires on it that aren't about ready to blow, clean out the nasty interior, or just put it on the lift and be like, this thing is an absolute piece of garbage, on to the next one. Yeah, we should be working on cool stuff like GMCs with LSs or tin grill Mopars, or later short bed Chevys. Or maybe a 79 Ford 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive. Or an International. Or a Denside Ford. That's all stuff we already did. Any guesses on whether these 10-inch fatties will get out of this little snow/ice hole? We'll be able to find out if it's posi anyway. It's pretty bad when the headers are so loud that Duff's not even interested in riding in it. Oh, needs a tilt column. I don't think it's a posi. Neutral safety? It's got that. All right, doesn't have much gas, and we're just kind of spinning our tires here, literally. Don't knock the tripod over! Oh yeah! Just because you're the star of the show, go get your mush dog friends and hook up the ropes, pull this thing out of here. Come on, mush! Big wide tires and ice and snow don't work well. What are we gonna use to get this thing out? What do we always use? Bernie. Well, let's go see if Bernie will start. Well, that guy's ambitious. Got the camper out. Did you break a hole in the ice? He had something to drink? Such a smart pup. We'd have to scrape the windows, or not. You know this is gonna start though, don't you? Oh yeah, Bernie is loyal. Who needs fuel injection when you got a Holly? Come on, third time's a charm. There we go. Dang, old power windows are frozen. Ugh. We'll just leave it. Not much for visibility. Oh, we can see backwards, we're good to go. I think we just gotta pull it out and then we can drive it up into the shop. Get it out of the hole. It's really hard to Ace Ventura this when your window don't roll down. Oh, here we go. Time for Bernie to shine. Bernie put in work like a champ. Would have came out a lot easier if I'd have taken it out of park, but I don't, because I'm dumb. Look at this though, in no longer than we were running, pretty much live time, that thing cooked all the frost right off the windshield. I guess it might have helped that the sun's blasting on it. Long story short, Bernie's got a good heater. Bernie's got a good everything. Good dash pad, good seat, good carpet. Old Pioneer deck, but it works. We thank you for your service, Bernie. Until next time. Oh, now that it's drug out, you think you're gonna go for an RIDE? You haven't helped at all this morning. Oh yeah, this box side's, she's a little rustier. Yeah, go for it. Here we go. And we're moving. Just watch out for ice. I was gonna say, is the seat that bad you won't sit on it? But I guess it's not really bolted down. Duff likes his seats to be structural. Oh, that's where the water's dripping from. Hey, it's got a vacuum gauge. It does have vacuum. Does that mean it's got a vacuum leak? It does kind of have brakes. Oh yeah. Will it stay idling? Not likely. These giant aftermarket seats and a non-tilt column and somebody with thick thighs like me makes for hard entry and exit. So needs a different seat and or tilt. Okay, first things first, we know this thing's got a massive vacuum leak, so let's dig into that first. I wonder if it's that electrical tape over that vacuum port. It seems like it's way worse than that. Oh, there is an actual plug in there. They just got it taped up. Looks like we got an Edelbrock intake. Ooh, it doesn't have power brakes. How's the fitting plug for that? I tell you what, I don't like the way the gasket looks under the base of the carburetor, and it seems like a pretty bad leak. Also, I think we can do a better job of plugging where the vacuum hose would go to our power brakes. So let's just take that carburetor out there. It's got some Allen bolts holding it down. It's just janky. And the kickdown cable's not hooked up. Because really, other than the intake manifold, all of your vacuum leaks come from the carburetor or something associated with it. So let's start with that. Let's just rip that Edelbrock off there. Seems like the Edelbrock's working okay. If we get rid of that vacuum leak, we could find out. So let's do it. Oh, that is way too stiff of a throttle spring. Check out these hose clamps. Like, that's a 3-inch hose clamp on a 3/8 fuel line. This one's only an 1.5-inch hose clamp. We got some fuel pressure. Definitely want to properly bleed that off. Good grief. Look at that hose clamp compared to the hose. And that one's even worse. That's more like what they should have. That one's even a little bit big. Fuel line's off. Return spring. Throttle linkage. No power booster. We just got to take these Allens out. Of course it's a metric hex. Why wouldn't it be? 6mm? Yep. I suppose they use those so that nobody would steal their Edelbrock carburetor, because all the thieves in south central Minnesota only have standard wrenches and not metric Allen sockets. Could be. Looks like they had about 3 threads holding it in there. There wasn't enough threads to hold down the throttle linkage bracket, so there's a stud back there. Let's take a look at what we got going on in here. So like I said, we got an Edelbrock intake, but look at this narrow sealing surface for a gasket. So everything's got to be pretty much just perfect lining up there for that to seal up. Also, we can't have anything on the bottom of the carburetor back in here or in here. Up here is pretty good, but so this is a dual plane intake, you can see, because that port is way down there and this one's way up here, and it's an EGR whatever, evap emissions intake. So you get your choke stuff there and your EGR there. And then they also got vacuum ports right here. That's where our vacuum gauge is working, so that could be leaking. This goes to our turbo 350 for our vacuum modulator. And then we got a port over here that's plugged off with a screw. So we should put a pipe plug in that one. And this one, we should probably just leave for now. It'd be kind of nice to have that vacuum gauge, provided that isn't causing the issues. Check out that tan distributor cap with the blue coil cover. Oh, the only thing that would really top it off is some yellow or red plug wires. That would really tie her together. Didn't they have Chrome covers for the heater box too. Kind of an interesting pickup. It's got power steering, which pretty much all these square bodies did. They did make them without, but they almost all had them. They almost all had power brakes too. This thing's got manual brakes. I don't see any remnants of a clutch pedal, so it doesn't look like it was a 3-speed or a 4-speed pickup. Must have had a tack in her. Oh, and the Scotch clip on the ignition wire. Perfect. You'll love to see it. Oh, that's right, 74. This thing probably had factory points. No HEI. And that's why it's got a homemade clip on there as opposed to the factory HEI clip. Let's check out the gasket on the base of our 1405 Edelbrock. So it looks like it was sealing right around there. This is the back side. Everything's sealed up pretty good, it looks like. There's some voids here and here, but I don't think that's going to cause a vacuum leak. It should just be right around this perimeter here, which actually looks good. Well, let's get that gasket off there just in case. Let's definitely tear it, so we have to find a new one. Perfect. This is what I was concerned about. See, there's the outer mounting hole and the gasket stops there. I was worried something was going on there. Well, let's get that gasket scraped out there all the way and then take a better look. Let's get the old Super Scraper SS1 to clean it up. Get yours at mortske.com. Everything looks pretty good there. Shouldn't be any issues. Only thing is maybe it doesn't seal up right here along with that intake. So that might have been our issue. I don't know. Also, we're gonna put a pipe plug in there because we don't want leaks coming from this conglomeration of bolts, constant tension clamp, the fuel clamp we need for our fuel line, the hose going bad, leaking around that fitting without any pipe dope. Yeah, there's some opportunities for improvement there. Also, I bet it could leak around this EGR, so we might want to take that off and make a new gasket for it as well. Or is that just an exhaust gas leak? I don't know. We're gonna learn. Let's pick her off there and see what happens. Oh, this is an old intake too. Check it out. It's got the plug right here. That's just an expansion plug or like a frost plug or a freeze plug. That's where your oil filler tube would come out. Also, it's got this bolt up front. That's where you'd mount your alternator bracket for heads that don't have the accessory holes in the front of them. So that's an old one. It's so weird. It's an old intake with the oil filler up front, but it's also got the EGR emissions crap on it. Probably a really rare intake for somebody in California who needs it. It's gonna be a cold ride. Looks like the heater hoses are looped. No doubt the heater core is leaking. Surely these aren't metric as well. Well, there's a gasket, but it looks like it's made out of, oh, it is. Well, what is that gasket? It's kind of metal, kind of not metal. Also looks like it's an exhaust leak and not an intake leak, if anything, so I think we'll see if we can find a new gasket for that and bolt that back together. While we're at it, let's pull this block off plate and see what happens there. Nice block off plates though. There's some real doozies out there, guys making their own. That looks like exhaust gases as well. I'm gonna go dig through my gasket stash, see if we got anything that matched up to these. Otherwise, we're gonna have to reuse them or make our own. Makes sense why that gasket was metal if it's for an exhaust gasket. Probably don't want to just throw a regular piece of your Cheerio box in there. Gonna blow out with a little heat. Found a replacement for this EGR gasket, but not for the other guy, so we're just gonna put her back together and cross our fingers. Now I'm gonna take this nipple fitting out of here and we're gonna put a pipe plug in it so that we don't have to worry about it leaking from around the screw or the rubber going bad. Anyway. Eliminate the leak points. Ooh, this is a nice one. Looks like somebody took a regular old pipe plug and brazed or bronzed a piece of copper into it to make their own barb fitting. Anyway, we're putting a pipe plug in it. 1/4 inch pipe plug coming right up. Make sure you wrap your pipe dope around it the proper direction. I like Pole Barn Garage, but I watched him put some pipe dope on one of his fittings in one of his last videos. I think it was when he put that Cadillac in that Buick. He was wrapping the pipe dope the wrong way. Come on, Dalton. Get it right. Don't be that much of a hack. You can sheet metal screw your floors in. But wrap your pipe dope the right direction. Everything looks good and tight on our vacuum modulator set up over here. Looks like it's got pipe dope on all of it, so it should be good to go. Here's the carburetor base gasket I came up with. Pretty much the same thing as what we had before, except for it's got both bolt patterns on it. Gonna make sure it covers everything on the intake. Looks like it does. Do the same on the base of our carburetor. And everything looks good there as well. I'm gonna spin this fitting out and go grab another 1/4 inch pipe plug and get that plugged up, and then I think we're ready to throw it back together. Also, I found a proper vacuum plug for that port. All right, we're back from putting a corn planter on a low boy. Let's get back to work on this thing. I think we're ready to throw a carburetor on there. Let's do it. You ready to go for an RIDE in this thing? Yeah. Oh, that's what's going on. EGR, choke, whatever it is, block off plates hitting the carburetor. So I'm gonna flip that upside down. Try number 2. Gotta use up all them new old threads down there that have never been touched by a bolt before. Oh yeah, I'm using the outside bolt pattern. Like that matters. Like the old Pontiacs. Wide track is better.
You betcha. Bredere är bättre.
Wider is better.
Use our much smaller hose clamp on the fuel line that we stole off of one of our other connections that is no longer existent because we replaced them with pipe plugs. So we took a couple of barbed fittings out with rubber plugs on it and we replaced them with pipe plugs. So hopefully those won't leak. We put a new carburetor base gasket in there. We checked our EGR block off plate thingers. We replaced our super sketchy electrical vacuum port pipe plug dealio on the front of the carburetor, and we got a regular vacuum plug on there. So now let's see what happens. I wonder if we're out of gas in that tank yet. I could see gas pumping into this fuel filter here, but it quit pumping recently, so maybe we're out. Good news is fuel pump's working. Let's try it with the choke on. First time it's idled since I've owned it. Yeah, she's not pumping gas anymore. All right, we fixed our vacuum leak. I don't know which one of those things it was, but that's probably why you should. So do one thing at a time. Replace the vacuum port plug, and then get rid of the barbed fitting and put a pipe plug in there. And then take the one out of the back of the carburetor and put a pipe plug in that, and then replace the gasket on the carburetor. But anyway, we did them all. Prevented a lot of future leaks, hopefully. Now that we know we got that part figured out, and we know that it's out of gas, let's lift it up in the air, drop the fuel tank, see what we got going on there. Because obviously they bypassed that for a reason. Let's take a look at the bottom of old brown sugar here, see what we can't find. A little rust down here in the inner fender below the battery. Somebody put a new brake hose on over here on the passenger side. Of course, they didn't put the nut back in there because those are miserable. Didn't do the driver's side though. Doesn't look like it's got drop spindles, so the coils must have been cut or heated up. Better this thing just sits this low, but I believe that's lower than factory ride height. Or maybe they put lighter coil springs in. What size are these monstrosities? 295, 50, 15. There's some big boys. Look at those headers. They ain't hanging down too far at least. Pretty small diameter though. Looks like they were painted white up to that point. And then not so much. Got a pretty new Napa gold filter on it. Dust cover intact. Got a turbo 350. Oh, look at that cute little loop in the header. Same deal on this side. They're white up until that splice right there. And they run right at the crossover and then they had to dip up. Oh, look at this. It's got an H pipe in it with a crossover. And then was this their muffler or attempt at a homemade muffler? And then some wired on tailpipes. Well, that would explain why it's so loud. Oh, it identifies as a stack. Maybe it had stacks on it at one point. Previous owner did say he was doing some repair work here, so I'm guessing that's all the areas that's painted black. Looks like he just scabbed her right over the top. Didn't even cut the old rusty stuff out. Oh yeah, if you can't weld good, weld a lot. Gotta love a rusty old square body. Didn't care about the cab support though. Oh, it's got a new fuel tank in it. Wonder why they weren't running off that, just didn't have it hooked up? Oh, that'll save us a bunch of work of dropping it out of there anyway. Or maybe they screwed something up when they put it together. Oh, start. It wasn't stack, it was start. Ah. Didn't even use a number 9 wire, just regular mechanics wire. Good thing I know somebody who's got an exhaust bender. You know it's not a posi. She's just a baby, that must be a 10 bolt. Oh no, she's a 12. Looks like the shocks have given up the ghost. I think that's supposed to be slid up there. New brake line. One over here too. New brake hose. Not a chance. Breather's hooked up though. Almost looks like there's some type of undercoating underneath it. Yeah, there is. Oh, they were air shocks. Sure enough. Lucky us. All right, moving on. There's what's left of the tailpipes. We got ourselves an old bias ply original spare. I think this is the first spare I've ever seen hanging underneath a square body. They're always missing, and this bracket's missing, and it's not holding air. Aftermarket chrome toe bumper. They could have beefed up them brackets a bit, but good enough for this little short wheelbase hot rod. Well, that's good to know we don't have to pull the fuel tank out. Looks like they hooked up the ground. The lines are hooked up. Typical square body rust on the cab supports. Either they didn't fix this side, it wasn't as bad, or they did a lot better job. I think it was just in better shape. Let's get the old anal scope and check inside the fuel tank, see what it looks like in there. We interrupt your regular scheduled shenanigans to bring you this Mortske Minute. This one's brought to you by Headers by Ed, started by Ed Henneman in 1962. In 1962, Ed built his first headers at 21 years old. More on that car later. He began building headers on cars shortly thereafter. He also became a distributor for all header-related components later on, as he couldn't find any locally sourced components. By 1966, he designed headers built off of jigs to ship directly to customers. These were for V8 powered 62 to 67 Novas. In 1974, he began offering vertical exit headers for demo derby and pulling applications. He also later began building deep sump oil pans and recurving distributors on his Sun distributor machine. He also offers a header design info pack on his website, which offers great information on header design. Now back to that first set of headers in 1962. His research and development car, a 1952 Dodge Coronet 4-door. His father bought the car new in February in 1952. And in 1962, those first headers were so that he could swap a brand new 340 horse 327 dual quad and a Borg-Warner T10 4-speed into that same car. Not only did he use the Corvette engine and transmission, he put a brand new Corvette rear end with 456 gears and posi traction. Eventually, he spun a rod bearing on that 327, rebuilt it with a roller cam, 13.5-to-1 pop-up pistons, reworked heads, a magneto, and lots of head work, along with 538 gears. He says that mileage went from 7.5 down to 4 during this change, however. Then, as so many gentlemen of his time, he went into the Vietnam War, sold off the drivetrain, and the car sat around for 40-some years until he had time to get back to it. In 2004, he pulled the car back out, installed a Ramjet 350 700R4 overdrive, and much street-friendlier 373 gears. So there you have it, all the information you need to know about Ed Henneman of Headers by Ed. Now back to your regularly scheduled shenanigans. Look at that, previous owner gave us all kinds of new hardware. New hardware in the filler neck, new bolts holding it in place, new hose clamps. Tech tip of the day, instead of feeding your test schlong through the filler neck, go ahead and unhook the hose through the inner fender here and then go in that way. Then you don't have to make those crazy bends and snake in there. You can thank me later. So we got our filler hose unhooked. Now let's ram the schlong down there and see how she looks. Betting that it's gonna look like brand new, but let's check to make sure that the sending unit and everything's in there and there's no dead critters or who knows what else, full of meth or something.
I'm on meth.
Minnesota, so it'd be full of loons and fish and rust. Power up the schlong. Sure enough, looks like brand new. Is there a little fuel at the bottom? Kind of looks like it, or is that just shadows? Let's tap on it and see. I think there's a little fuel at the bottom. Not much. There's our sending unit. Everything looks like it's in place there. I think we're good to go. Let's put this all back together, lift her up, hook up the fuel lines, dump some fuel in it, and see if we can't pull some fuel out of our new fuel tank. All right, new fuel hose between the line and the pump. Looks like it's got a newer fuel pump on her as well, so hopefully it picks up some fuel once we dump some in there. And then we can get rid of the boat tank in the bed and have another one for our collection. Yeah, that's right. Other people run stuff up boat tanks, not just me. It's probably a Minnesota thing because I think it's state law required that you have to have a camper shell or a topper on your pickup and also to own a boat. All right, I'm gonna go grab some gas for this thing, and also somebody's coming from Iowa to get the 60 Plymouth station wagon, so we're gonna take Bernie, go get some gas. Yeah, and we're gonna take Bernie and drag a Plymouth out of the weeds. Yeah, this Bernie thing is our favorite. I think it's supposed to knock on 50 degrees today, so Tropical heat wave. I saw some report somewhere, I don't know where. But anyway, we had in this area, anywhere between an 80 and a 100 degree temperature swing in a week. I'm no math rocket scientist, but I guess that's what happens when you go from -40 to 60 degrees above zero. Here we go, Bernie. Like a champ. Oh, it's even got gas in it. All right, now she's up front, ready for him to pick her up. Oh, Bernie is the real MVP around here. Then we gotta go fetch up 5 gallons of petroleum. Gasoline. Does the body good. Remember those milk commercials?
Hi, Tom. I'm waiting.
Milk. It does a body good.
Does milk even have commercials now? I guess I would have to get TV to know that. Remember the old milk mustache commercials? Those were classic. That was like late 90s, early 2000s. Didn't they have like Britney Spears? Some other really cool people. Britney Spears is the coolest person I can think of that had the milk mustache. The kid from the Show Me the Money with Tom Cruise, he was on there. Remember that kid. Drink it up, Ed. Maybe this is why the guy only had a half a cup in there, is because it was a pain to fill up. You know what I got? A new toy like 8 months ago. I got this sweet gas stealing pump off the Amazonia. Made in Korea, so you know it's the finest. Just drop that sucker in there. Not a paid promotion by any of the Koreas. North, south, east, west. No Korean sponsorships here. But it's got a wire in there. Oh, it's an Autronic eye type deal. And it automatically shuts off. It's supposed to anyway. Oh, it's got a clip to latch on. Oh my gosh. How glorious is this? You could just sit here and drink a sandwich while your fuel tank fills up automatically. No more spilling. No more heavy lifting. What a time to be alive. We should have timed it. It's got to be going faster than it was when I had the neck pinched off, tipping her up though, right? Couldn't have been worse. I see why it needs the clip. I want to walk away and go do something else instead of staying here. I don't feel like this is productive. It'd be even better if I ran off a Milwaukee battery so I could just slap a new one on there when this one goes dead. What's it got in it? Let's check. Energizer, double A's, 4 of them. I'll definitely forget to put the link in the video description for the Greta unapproved pump for your Greta unapproved fuel jug.
How dare you!
Here we go, drain her all back inside. That's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat.
Go out and get yourself one. All right, all gassed up. Nowhere to go. Let's sprinkle a little hot sauce in the carburetor, fire this thing up, see if we can't get it running off its own fuel tank, fuel pump. Tire purposes. It appears as somebody has left the key on for an extended amount of time, and now our battery is dead. That someone is me. I think it wasn't points, so we blew up the coil. Don't you worry. Pooch in Texas is our second battery sponsor this week. You too can be a battery sponsor at mortskerepair.com. Slingshot engaged.
Slingshot engaged.
We're not getting any fuel, I can tell for 2 reasons. Because the engine died and our super flammable glass fuel filter is not getting fuel in it. Once in a while we get a spurt in there. So I'm gonna throw some air that is compressed in the fuel tank and try to force that fuel up here. You wanna keep an eye on the fuel filter while I do that? Well, I ran it again, blew air in the fuel tank. Still not getting any fuel up there. You know what we never did check? The oil in the engine, or the coolant. We haven't run it that long, so the coolant isn't of concern, but running it this long without any oil, we probably would have known, so I'm gonna check those, and then I think we're gonna take the fuel hose off at the fuel pump, and we're gonna blow back in the fuel line into the fuel tank and see if we got any luck there. Maybe they got it hooked up to the wrong spot, or maybe it's not hooked up. I don't know. We got to figure out what's going on. Why we're not getting any fuel into our little glass fuel filter up here. Oh boy, she looks like brand new. I wonder if this is a race car engine. Seems how he did, you know, cylinder head work, and it's got these fancy headers on it. Oh, she's full. Good to go there. What a pump. Oh, there's some coolant in there. I can hear it. We'll check that again later. You hear that? There's coolant that high, so we're good to go. Let's run her up in the air and unhook that fuel hose and see what we got going on. We got a leak over here, and it smells a lot like fuel. I can't smell much, but I can definitely smell fuel. Is that where that evap canister thing is? Oh, I bet when I was blowing into the tank, it was pushing fuel out here because they got the two flipped around, right? Right. So there's an evap canister here, and I think that should be hooked to the line that goes into the top of the tank, or it doesn't go to the bottom of the tank. And the one that you pick up fuel should be hooked into the bottom of the tank because you're pulling fuel from the bottom, not the absolute bottom, but you know what I'm getting? This vents just back into the tank, so it doesn't vent into the fuel, it just vents into the fuel tank. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go swap those fuel lines back there and see what happens. So you got two lines back here. One is for your fuel pump, and one is for your return. And I bet they got them swapped around up there or up here, either way. And when I was blowing air in the tank, the one in the evap should be sitting above the fuel level, so it should have just been shooting air out the evap. But because that line was below the fuel level, I was pushing air in there, and it was pushing air to the carburetor and fuel to the evap. Yeah, it's always fun fixing other people's screw-ups. I'm pretty good at it because I made a lot myself. All right, flip these two around and we'll be back in action. Maybe, hopefully. Come on, baby, come on over there. Good news is the fuel should prime itself because it's got pressure yet. No fuel. Oh, or not. Oh yeah, it wants to. Oh, the hoses are too short. Son of a biscuit. Somebody really botched this one. Well, let's hook it up and see if it works first before we get crazy about splicing it. Tech tip of the day, don't get your fuel lines hooked up backwards. Also, don't let them touch your exhaust or muffler or whatever that is. Now, let's fill up flow bowl and see what happens. Oh yeah. Now we're getting all the fuel action. It's even clear. That's what you like to see, not rusty, brown, nasty. Let me grab my MojoCraft magnetic pointer here. This is aforementioned evap canister. This is the line coming from the tank that was formerly hooked up to the feed line. And this would actually go to your carburetor when it was hooked up factory style. But we'll hook this back up. I don't know if it's going to be good. I think there's charcoal in there. I know there's gas in there right now because it's leaking out. We got to meet emissions for Greta, so we'll hook it back up. Good thing rubber hoses are stretchy. We got her back hooked up to factory specifications. You're welcome, Greta. I just saw this. I don't know that electrical tape functions as park brake material, but it does today. Do not pull park brake cable. Speaking of cables, the old speedo cable is awful close to the exhaust. Like it's been on it before. I'm sure it'll be just fine. This was an exhaust guy. Come on, Ed, step your game up. Well, we know this thing stops, and we also know that they put a brake hose on the right-hand side, so I'm guessing the left-hand side and the rear brake hose are that close to failing as well. So, since this thing seems to run so good, and we know it stops, steers, does everything else, let's go ahead and put some new brake hoses on it, because that's the last thing I want to do is go for a ride in this thing and schmuck it all up, or worse, you know, kill myself or run into somebody else. So let's go ahead and swap that brake hose and the rear brake hose out, and then this should be pretty good to go. We've messed around with a lot of these things, and we've never had an issue with a caliper being bad on these. Wheel cylinders once in a while are bad, but you still got the front brakes, and if we get real crazy, we could pop the wheels off and pop the drums off and take a look at the wheel cylinders and maybe even clean them up and replace them. But let's just do hoses for now. I've said it before and I'll say it again. GM really missed the mark on the brake hoses on the front of these square body Chevys. Just, it's a terrible design. They couldn't use the clip instead of having a threaded nut, and it's hard to get a wrench in there. Luckily, this one has rubbed a hole through the frame so it pushes through, so that'll make it easier to get off. But when we gotta clamp it back in place, I don't know what we're gonna do. Unless we put a washer on the backside or something. Really jimmy rig it good. I can't grab it with a wrench, so let's try locking pliers. Of course, we gotta do it on the side with the steering box. Maybe that's why they didn't replace this side. Now that I got the line crack loose up there, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the brake hose, and then I can spin the end out and we'll get the nut off there and everything else. You know what I'm saying? It makes life a lot easier. You're gonna throw this in the garbage anyway, so just cut it. It's a lot easier to get out. There you go, there's what we're working with. Usually you gotta spin this nut off here, it's a stamp nut, and then slide the line out. Oh, that's what's missing. The clip around the brake hose end is missing. That's how it slid through the frame rail. So we should be good to go on our new one. So we'll take our new one, slide it through the frame, put this nut on there, tighten it up, and then hook the line up. It's a real treat to do. Those of you that done it, you know. But that's how I get away with doing it. Usually I'll cut the line and then you can spin it easier. It works better. Maybe not. I'm an idiot, probably. Now we just got our clamp on our upper control arm and our banjo fitting down on our caliper. A little squirrel piss on that guy. Great, grand, wonderful.
Great, grand, wonderful.
I guess we'll be torching that bolt off that holds that clamp in place in the upper control arm as well, because that decided to round off. I just thought about this, and I'm standing in a puddle of gas. Probably not a good idea, but I don't know what else we got for options. It can't be that much of a flame up. We'll just move the camera back so it catches all the flame action. Try not to stand in the puddle of gas. That's not very good gas. Am I on fire yet? Gas these days sucks. Got it. I don't know about you, but when there is an open flame fire in the middle of a puddle of gas, I thought it would be more combustible, explosionable. Anyway, that's pretty disappointing. But that job's done. Just gotta fish what's left of our clamp out of there. There we go. All right, we're getting there. It's fighting us every step of the way, but we'll get her. Got us a couple of fresh copper washers. This one's got the C-clip on it, so it won't slide through the frame rail on its own. Now we put our stamped steel nut up there with our 15/16 socket in hand, ready to go. Now remember, it's a 15/16 nut. It's huge. It's stamped steel. It's just, it ain't got to do much. You ain't got to crank on it because you're wasting your time. And the next guy will appreciate it when he doesn't have to torch it off. Now we can tuck our line back up. Maybe we should have done that first. No, we couldn't have done that first. What am I talking about? Oh, such a joy. Get her all tightened up. Now I guess we just gotta wait and see if it leaks. Oh yeah, and I need to find a new bolt to bolt it to the upper control arm. Shall we see how the new tailpipes sound, Duff? Let old brown sugar sing a bit. Let's do it. Sounds pretty good. We even drew Chin's attention.
Square bodies, small blocks.
Not good enough for Mojo, he don't care.
He didn't hear it.
He didn't hear it. All right, let's throw some wheels and tires on this. Let me show you what we got going on here. I was on the old Bookface Marketplace and somebody up in Pooperstown, North Dakota had these bad boys. I call them turbines. I'm sure there's different names for them. These are Unilug. They use ET style conical washers to hold them in there. Hit up Jeff over at Lugnut Guys, and he got us some center caps, and we got lug nuts and washers, and we got some Mastercraft Avenger GTs. We scuffed these things and DB painted in there. They were some obnoxious neon green. We got the little baby nubby valve stems. We got two 75/60s on the rear and two 55/60s on the front. So shout out to the lug nut guys. Look at this. They sent us Mortske's nut bag. These are 1/2-20 lug nuts. They got the conical seating area, conical, one or the other. And then they got the shank on them as well. And here is the snap-in style center caps. I suppose there would have been a logo or something there in the middle. And here is the oval washers. They got the chamfer in there to mate up with the taper on those bad boys. And they're also the correct diameter to fit through there. You would use these on these unilugs. So that would be like if that was outside of the bolt pattern, that would make it a 5-inch bolt pattern. Flip it around this way, it would be a 4.5 bolt pattern. And if you got one that was stamped right in the middle, you could go either way with it. And that would be for a 4 3/4. You're with this information. Also, the lug nut guys are Mortske approved, so go check those guys out. Usually everything $35 and over is free shipping. If you use the promo code Mortske, everything's free shipping. And everything that we're shipping out, until we're done with these, he sent us like 200 of these stickers. So we're just gonna throw these stickers in every single order at mortske.com. So if you head on over to mortske.com, you buy some matches, you get a sticker. You buy ball cap, you get a Mortske approved sticker. You buy another sticker or a decal, you get a Mortske approved Lug Nut Guys decal. So shout out to Jeff and the boys over at Lug Nut Guys. Go check them out for all your lug nut and center cap needs. And they also got your unilug washers, all the different styles of washers. There's an ET style and a Keystone style, and then there's different offsets, and there's some that got the taper, some that don't got the taper. Those guys know it all. So go check them out. lugnutguys.com. Go check out mortske.com as well. Place an order, get a decal. Mortske approved. All right, let's throw those bad boys on there. I think vectors are what the Duke boys run on the General Lee. I don't think these are a vector. I think vectors are bigger space in there. I just call them turbines. Let's throw them on there. Well, we're back here. You might as well check out the brakes. And it does have newer wheel cylinders. Oh, those shoes are like new too. Look at that. Still got the markings on them. I feel pretty confident in those brakes, so let's throw our new turbines on there and do some burnouts. Check this out. I don't know if they put a new bolt through the center of these leaf springs and then just hogged out the center of the U-bolt bracket here. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure the rear end is completely centered in the wheel well. Some people's kids shouldn't be allowed to turn wrenches. So I don't know the brand of these wheels, but they're 15 by 8.5. You can tell by the way that it is.
You can tell that it's an aspen tree because of the way it is.
And they got a patent number on it, so that'd probably tell us who the manufacturer is. They're DOT rated, and they got a max load of 1,780 pounds. So a couple things to look for when you're shopping for wheels. Look for curb rash. It's gonna be hard to tell if they're bent or not without putting them on a spin balancer, but check the wheel mating surface and the lug nut surfaces. You wanna look on these bad boys when they're unilug like this to make sure they ain't all wallered out where the washer got run loose, because they pretty much all are. And then you want to see if somebody's drilled them out bigger than they should be, like these guys are. But I'm not too concerned because we're going to run the right lug nuts and the right washers, so shouldn't be an issue. But you don't want to pay top dollar for unilug wheels that are all wallered out or been drilled out or modified. There you can see that nasty lime green paint that these things were painted previously. I think brown sugar is a way better color than lime green for wheels. So on all aluminum wheels, especially these unilugs, you want to double check the torque quite a few times when you're putting them on. Torque them, set it on the ground, torque them, drive it 10 miles, torque them, drive it 50 miles, torque them, drive it another 100 miles, torque them. Every time you drive it, torque them, because that's the death of these unilugs, it seems like. Also, it's real fun to get the washers and the lug nuts and everything all lined up in the right orientation when you're doing this. So another reason they get screwed up. But make dang sure you're using the right lug nuts and washers on your new lug. Otherwise, bad things are gonna happen. And you don't want bad things to happen, like the wheels falling off. You'll also notice I put the white letters out, because I figured that's what brown sugar would like. Ed seems like he would be a white letters out kind of guy. Be sure to paint your calipers and your brake drums some obnoxious color before you stick these bad boys on there as well. And then when you go to tighten it, make sure your washers don't spin like this one just did. If you're paying real money and buying brand new wheels, buy the right bolt pattern, buy the right offset, buy the right diameter, all that good stuff. Another reason that I hate Kraggers is it's hard to find Kraggers that aren't Unilog. And I haven't looked at new ones for a long time. I think I only looked once, and it was as a joke. And I couldn't find any that were 5 on 5.5. I don't remember what the bolt pattern was. The only way you could get that bolt pattern was a Unilog. And Kraggers are not cheap new. No wheels are cheap new. But if you're gonna spend real money and you get stuck with Unilog, you just got slapped in the face. Kraggers. Ah, the finishing touch, the chrome center cap. If you don't know what center caps you need, get some measurements, take some pictures, hit up the lug nut guys. Jeff is super good with these. I looked at these and there's a groove in there on the back side. It's narrower. And I said, I need the ones that slide in from the back. And he goes, no, the ones that slide in from the back. And he showed me a cross-sectional diagram that he sketched by hand. But anyway, he says, you need the snap-in ones. I'm like, all right, send me the snap-in ones. Sure enough, Jeff was right. Snap-in ones it is. Oh, she's real good. Oh, he's got 3 more to do. Looks like we're gonna be needing some front brake pads real soon. They're fine for now, but it's gonna need them. You can see there's probably about, I don't know, 3/16 of an inch left there. She's getting down there. At least this rotor's shiny, the other side wasn't. And I wonder if it was because that brake hose was plugged up and it wasn't letting fluid through to apply the caliper. Guess we're gonna find out when we drive it. Maybe we'll be ordering some new calipers too. Boom, done. Yeah, Unilugs. The old washer situation made this job 3 times longer than it needed to be. Let's take a look at the old 295 5015s that we took off of here. So they're the dueler HPs. I remember my dad having, I think, our Suburban. We had a 90 Suburban 4-wheel drive in gray, 4-wheel drive, 350, 700 R4. Had Bridgestone duelers, and we had an 84 Chevy pickup 4-wheel drive with a 350 700 R4. Had the duelers on it back when I was a kid. But anyway, these are just a straight 5-on-5 bolt pattern. They're a 15 by 10. You can see it's cast into the wheel. Here's the DOT number, which you must have to do to have a wheel company, apparently. Makes sense. You don't just want some Joe Schmo making wheels that doesn't know what he's doing. And then max wheel load 2,100 pounds. Oh, these things are rated for heavy duty towing and hauling. Must be because they're a straight lug pattern instead of unilug. OWI, I don't know what that means. Anyway, usually there's a manufacturer on the backside of the wheels these days, it seems like, but nothing on these wheels and nothing on those wheels. Also, I tried to find a date code on these tires and I don't see anything, so they must be pre-2000. Nothing like running on 25-year-old tires. Look at how good this thing looks. Oh, those wheels are so terrible, but they're so awesome on brown sugar. Shout out to DB for cleaning the blue off of the white lettering. That's another terrible thing about white letters. You got to keep them clean, but you also got to clean them before you can put them on. And that was not a fun process. Use your rubber, what do they call those? Those rubber disc wheel remover thingers. We use it for decals and all kinds of stuff, and pinstriping and emblems and all that stuff. They work pretty good. 3M stripper wheel, I think they call them. The old stripper wheel, not a pole. Yeah. White letters out. Don't get used to it around here. Cripes, the list is getting short. I think I've rounded up the perfect hardware stud, bolt, whatever, to put in the throttle linkage for our kick down. This will go through the notch in the kick down, and we'll bolt that through the linkage on the carburetor, and then we'll have kick down for all the brappage. There we go. one hooked up, kick down linkage. Well, we're hooking things up. Let's hook up the hoses, the heater core. I'm guessing we know why they're not hooked up, because the heater core leaks, but let's give it a whirl. Cross our fingers and hope for the best. Looks like they even left them both long enough. Lucky us. I wonder what they got used for a splice. Can't wait to see. I'm sure it's not a proper adapter with barbs on it to hold it in place. Let's guess. Is it metal? Is it steel? Is it copper? Plastic? Aluminum? I'm guessing plastic. Oh, it's a, I call them a JIC. Let's hook this up. And then that's gonna run all over. And then it's gonna run up the other side. And we're gonna be in trouble. What is this? Oh, yeah. What is that? I don't know. It's JIC to JIC. That's what it is. I was way off thinking it was gonna be plastic. All right, let's hook it up, see if it leaks on the floor, steams up our windshield. I know there's not gonna be much coolant going in there right now because it's not running, the water pump's not pumping, but let's check the floor. She's still dry. There might be a chance. Who makes these? Veda? New Ferris, Indiana? Or is that New Paris, Indiana? New Paris Industries? They're Transcon seats, of course. Oh, check this out. I'm gonna shut the door. You guys are gonna watch the sunroof. Oh, don't back up. Oh my. There's nothing holding it? Don't back up too fast. Or get a side wind. What a piece of amazingness. All right, tranny's topped off. Tires got a little less rubber on them. The heater core is still leaking, unfortunately. And the passenger seat isn't bolted down, so I don't know how enthusiastic Duff is gonna be about riding in here, but I guess we'll have to address that. But anyway, storm's coming tomorrow, so load up. Let's go for a test drive. We'll see how it goes. It's nice enough out. He could ride the bed. All right, heater's kicking on. Let's back this thing outside. Grab the cameras, grab my sunglasses because it's bright out. Ooh, Raptor, DD Speed Shop, is that you with your cowboy hat on? Day 3 of Raptor ownership here. Let's see how this thing drives. Brakes are a little bit soft, Duff. And your seat brackets are non-existent, so sorry about that. We'll figure it out. Idle's a little low. Maybe it'll come up. And we got absolutely no rear view mirrors. It had one on the windshield, but it's no longer there. I'll go close the overhead door. And the hood latch is really good. Like, you can't get the hood back open again, so hopefully we don't need to do that. All right, here we go. Tranny seems good. Visors don't really stay up. How come this thing ran so good the other? She's peppy out of the hole. Like, what's she got? Some 373s? Maybe some 410s? I doubt it, because it's not a posi. Drive our brand new tires through the mud. Throw mud all over our nice brown sugar. Still needs a little tuning. I don't like how they got the #1 way off on the distributor. Like, the vacuum advance module should be pointed like that, and it's pointed like that. And that irritates me. And the other thing I worry about is how this ignition is wired up. If they got it wired directly to 12 volts, or if they are running like 9 volts to the ignition system because it's set up for points. So that's something we should check, but it seems like it starts and runs good enough that that shouldn't be the issue. It definitely could use some brake work. They're a little soft. Maybe we gotta bleed them some more. An electric choke would be good. Here we go, Duff. Come on, second gear. Did it already hit second? Third? Speedo says 35. Fuel gauge says full, so yeah. Fuel gauge clearly doesn't work because we only got 6 gallons of gas in there. Maybe only 5. But yeah, she's definitely 373s. And my head's hitting the roof. It's almost like it's chopped. Oh, and the frickin' moonroof is just dancing up there, sunroof. Doo-doo. How do we fix that now? put some sheet metal screws in it. And it's kind of popping out the tailpipes. It probably could use a tune-up. We probably wouldn't hear it if it had mufflers, but it's surprisingly quiet in here. The nice part about the wing window delete option is you don't have wing windows whistling. Floors are nice and solid. Not solid enough to hold that puddle of coolant over there though, huh, Duff? Good thing my dog doesn't like to drink coolant because there's a wonderful floor pan full of green antifreeze right now. Oh yeah, that's third. We are humming along at 55 mile an hour. It drives really straight, doesn't want to pull. The wheel's just barely sitting to the right. It's got a solid alignment on it. 45 pounds of oil pressure. Doesn't say we're charging. Temp is barely above C, so I don't know if it's creeping up or not. I think if we got this sunroof sealed up, it would be pretty quiet in here for having straight pipes anyway. Maybe we could put a little clamp on there? I don't know. Duff. Note that. Fix sunroof. And heater core. Yeah. Tomorrow, I don't know. They're talking like a snowstorm across the entire nation, so I don't know what that means, but it means we probably aren't going to be driving this hot rod around. So we're going to get our test drive done today. We got a little wind noise coming around the corner where the window felt is shot. This thing drives pretty good. 15, inches of mercury vacuum we got going on over there. Can't believe the speedo works. As hot as that cable has been sitting on the headers or exhaust, whatever was running over. Exhaust, I suppose the headers wouldn't be all the way to the back of the transmission. We got plenty of daylight, so we shouldn't have to test the lights out. Probably should have checked, seen if we had turn signals and brake lights, so I'm sure they work just fine. Yeah, we gotta fix that sunroof, because that thing, the noise is terrible from that thing. Mirrors would be a plus. It runs pretty decent though, considering we didn't touch the carburetor or the ignition, just fixed a vacuum leak. I'd be interested to know if there's any head work that's been done to these heads, like, you know, port matching or polishing, oversized valves. Who knows? Yeah, brakes are real soft. Oh, it's second pump. It's got air. We gotta bleed the brakes. Your floor pan's rattling too, Duff. You can tell by the way that the antifreeze has got ripples going through it, like waves over there. Stop breathing so heavy. You're fogging up the window worse than the whole heater core. Oh yeah, it's definitely a second pump. Hold on, I got your seat for this corner. Oh my gosh. An ocean's worth of coolant just came pouring out of the heater box around that corner. All right, we're gonna have to open the windows, Duff. You're probably excited about it though, because you like it. Whoa. I know, no thumb. Okay, sorry dude, your window ain't been down in a couple of days. Oh, there you go. Get some fresh air. Breathe it in. It's not exactly window down weather today, but we're gonna have to deal with it. Listening for the squeal. What is the squeal, Duff? Is that from the engine, or is that from the drivetrain? Whoa, easy on your seat there, buddy. Easy on the seat. Sounds like it's rotational in the driveline. It can't be the tires rubbing the body, because this thing sits way too high for that. And they're only 8.5s. It had 10s on it before. Noise goes away when you overpower it with exhaust. Nope, still there. And then the moonroof comes in. Temp gauge still ain't coming up, so I don't think we got a temp gauge. Not surprised. Did we check the diff? Oh yeah, I checked the diff. Is it the back brakes being all scratchy? I don't know. U-joints all seem tight. That wouldn't be a squeal. Ah, it could be a tight U-joint squealing. That's what it could be. She needs some loving, Duff. Are you writing this all down? Moonroof, bleed brakes, heater core, mystery noise from driveline. Yeah. Sticky steering wheel, fixed temp gauge, fixed fuel gauge. It's a pretty long list, but it actually runs pretty decent. So, you know, that outweighs basically everything else. Runs good. Do the old swerve test, see if we can figure out which side it's on. Oh, sorry about your seat. It's definitely on my side that it's squealing. Does it go away with the brakes? Oh yeah, it's the brakes. All right, Duff's camera decided to exit stage left, so got that fixed. Should we see if she'll burn them, Duff? Maybe they just gotta be adjusted up in the rear. Oh yeah! Oh, this thing is good! Even into second. One tire fire. What was that? I don't know. Parts falling off or just parts falling down? Yeah, the squealing goes away when you just barely touch the brakes. Maybe we got to adjust them up. Or maybe it'll just wear itself in. This thing does a mean burnout though. Uh-oh. Why did it die? Are we out of gas? Son of a biscuit, this thing must get terrible mileage. Well, hopefully Chin's still at the shop. Throw a 6-gallon can of gas in the back. Not sure I'm gonna need it, but it just died a minute ago. Oh, okay, bye. I don't know, it started, so. We just gotta turn the idle up? There's no way we burned 5 gallons of gas in what little we drove it. Oh, this thing makes so many different noises. It's almost like that vacuum leak is back. All right. Well, coolant everywhere. I got your seat, buddy. We're on our way home. Ah, screw you, sunroof. You know what other things I hate if I haven't told you other than Kreger's and white letters? Sunroofs. They're terrible. The antifreeze, it really singes the nostrils.
Stings the nostrils.
Speedometer seems to be accurate because I'm doing the speed limit and I'm keeping up with the car in front of me, so that's a win. We better get home and get some coolant in this thing because between those two right-hand corners, a lot of coolant came out of the heater box. Pheasant, Duff, you missed it. That's a rooster even. Yeah, I don't know. I think it just, as I was slowing down and let her back to an idle, that must have been why it died. Just got to turn the idle up, apparently, because it seems to run great going down the road. Oil pressure's down to 40, maybe 35 psi. Still very acceptable. It probably could use an oil change too. Like that's gonna happen. I don't think we're keeping this thing. Price and availability in the video description. I'm sure I said it before, but I have zero intention of keeping this thing, so. Price and availability in the video description. Hit us up, mortskerepair@gmail.com. You could own your very own chop top heads headers 1974 Chevrolet short wide bed amazingness. It's so bad, it's good. Yeah, it's, I mean, other than the list of 1,100 things that are wrong with it, it does seem to work pretty well. Bungee cord over the roof to hold the sunroof down, maybe? There's Chin. Oh, she wakes up. You just gotta get the R's up. Well, it looks like we're gonna make it home at least, so that's a plus. Also, on the list, put gas in. Oh my word. Gotta bleed the brakes. Second pump, it's right there. Or maybe that's because we got to adjust out the rears. Think so? Just doesn't like to idle because that hog cam in it, Duff. Coolant running out the rocker panels. Yeah, boy. Yeah, it's like it's pouring straight out of the heater hose. Good stuff. All right, we got a couple things we should fix and then go on a proper test drive. We'll see you back tomorrow because it's closing time today. Are you jonesing for a sweet deal? Then head on down to the Mortske Motorplex. Boy, have we got a deal for you. Check out this bad boy, 1974 Chevrolet Shortbed Chop Top. That's right, we're lowering roofs and we're lowering prices. So head on down to the Mortske Motorplex. This bad boy right here's already got a name. It's Brown Sugar, or you could call it Ed. You might say, what are those on the bed? Well, those are buttons from all the ladies that are throwing their pants off at this thing. As you can tell, this thing's got headers on it. When you blow by them blouses, it shoots the buttons right into the side of the bed. It needs a little bit of rust repair, but you can do welding if you buy this thing. Never mind that. So come on down to Mortske Motorplex. Kick some white ladder tires. It's got the slide rear window so you can slide right into her DMs. If you're looking for some head work, head on down. Buy this hot rod from Ed. What's happening down at Mortske Motorplex? Great deals, that's what's happening down here. Don't worry if the hood don't open very well, you won't need to because it's got a race car engine under there and you're never gonna need to work on it. Got it! You wanna know how much chrome this thing's got it? We got chrome bumpers, chrome alternator brackets, chrome air cleaners, chrome radiator mounts, chrome valve covers, chrome jack mount, chrome hood hinges, chrome breather cap, chrome oil fill cap, chrome fuel filter that makes this engine hotter than the deals down at Mortske Motorplex, random chrome wing nuts in the bed. Did we mention the tow bumper? No, because the only thing this thing's gonna pull is tail. Too tall to drive a chop top pickup? Don't worry. It's got a sunroof in it, and it probably leaks. See this switch over here? You know what that does? Absolutely nothing, but it would have been hooked up to the air shocks that no longer function. Wood grain dash to match the paneling in your trailer house. It's got a vacuum gauge to tell you how much this thing doesn't suck. Crushed velvet headliner and sun visors. It's even got the leather G-string in the roof. This bad boy even comes with its own bottle opener. You gotta supply the radio and the passenger seat. Just think all the money you'll save carpooling because nobody's gonna ask you to drive when you ain't got no passenger seat. Don't question the sticky steering wheel. You know you're putting a chain link on this bad boy as soon as you get it anyway. Did I mention this bad boy's got a race car engine? You know how I could tell? Edelbrock air cleaner, open element, Edelbrock 650 QFM, FFM, AM, and CFM carburetor, Edelbrock intake, Excel ignition, and headers. Custom-made headers with a H-pipe, Y-pipe, Z-pipe, and D-pipe, complete all the way out the back with mufflers included. It's even got fresh brakes, and by fresh I mean they work and it's got a couple of new pieces on there. Do you watch the Dukes of Hazzards? Do you like awesome turbine wheels? Do you like jumping bridges? Well, this might be the hot rod for you. So head on down to Mortske Motorplex and get this hot deal before somebody else does. Let's fix all those things we found on the test drive. First thing is, we're gonna loop the heater hose because I don't have a heater core on hand and none of the local parts stores are gonna have one. And we ain't got time to wait around for one.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And there's no snow out there right now. It's just really windy, so we don't need a heater. So I got this plastic splice double end barbed thinger. We're gonna throw this in there, which is slightly better than what was in there. The threaded piece, you don't wanna use threaded fittings for splicing hoses, but anyway, let's throw this in there first because this thing is leaking real bad. I almost wanna take it apart, see if it froze and blew out or what, because usually it just weeps out of the heater core. This thing just pours out. And then we're gonna top it off with some coolant. So these heater hoses are 3/4 and 5/8, and I just got a 5/8 splice in there, so hopefully it doesn't leak out around the inside of the 3/4 tube. Now let's get about a gallon of coolant dump in here. Get that radiator top back off. Can we even see the coolant? No, we lost a lot. Here we go, let's see if it holds a gallon. All right, it took all of that gallon, and looks like we're gonna need another gallon. Finally full. Now for the sunroof repair. I think we're just gonna ramrod a self-tapper right through the perimeter into this guy, hold her in place. I'm guessing there was some type of latch or linkage or something back in the day, but this is the best I could come up with. So here we go. I was trying to figure out why it's sitting high in this corner, and I figured it out. There's a screw head poking through there, so we're gonna get that guy out of the way first, and then it should seal up better, hopefully. Here goes nothing. Hopefully we didn't set that crushed velvet headliner on fire. Look at this, they had to seam it right there, so they got this leather strip across there. How sexy is that? But it's not symmetrical. Passenger didn't get a sexy leather strip. Come on, out of there. Cheese and rice. Let's get rid of that so it doesn't poke a hole in my tire. Oh yeah, way better. No flat tires from that screw. All right, here we go, unleashing my inner pole barn garage. How is this gonna work? Not very well, probably. You know what? Let's run them from the inside out if we can. Oh yeah, you can't even see it. Professional. No more loose sunroof. Let's put one on the other side quick. There we go. Problem solved. Well, other than the problem, there's still a leaky sunroof on it, but at least that thing won't be flapping in the wind on us. Were we gonna fix this seat? Was that on the list? Probably not. Or the sun visors that are about to fall off and in your way all the time? No, we won't do anything about that either. Swivel buckets, nice. So the brakes, first time you hit them, they're not real great. Second time you hit them, they're right there. So that tells me that there's air in the system. Brake fluid is non-compressible, air is compressible. So hence why you can buy compressed air things. Compressed air, it's in my air compressor. The lines are compressed air. Anyway, you don't want compressible things such as air into your brake fluid. So we're gonna try to push that air out. I'm gonna get somebody to come and pump the brakes. So anytime if you got poor brakes, pump them a few times and see if they get better. And if they do, then you likely have air in the system. So let's go get somebody, either Chin or the Mojo, to help me bleed some brakes, and we'll get some air out of the system, and the brakes will be much better. And also, when we got it up in the air, we're gonna take a look at that rotor on the left-hand side and see if that's actually getting scratched up by the brake pads, and if it was the hose that was bad, preventing pressure from getting to that caliper, or if it's still not rubbing, we need to figure out why we're not getting any fluid to that left front caliper. So let's do that quick. One other thing that it could be is it could be, you know, the rear brakes were making noise. It could be that they are out of adjustment and they needed to be adjusted out further so they're touching the drum. So that first pump, you're pushing the wheel cylinder out and it's pushing the brake shoes out to where they touch the drum. But because they're not adjusted out properly, it's taking up that air gap, and the second time you hit it, it pushes them out further. Could be what it is too. So we'll double check that as well. Before we do that, I'm gonna check the reservoir in the master cylinder to make sure it is full of brake fluid, because if it is not, we got a leak, or I'm an idiot and didn't fill it up. So make sure your system's full before you start bleeding, and then top it off after you're done bleeding. Well, I think I found the culprit of our soft brakes. Hit the pedal again. Ooh, leaking around the brake hose. All right, let's see what we got going on there. So the way that these seal, they call this a banjo fitting. It's got a bolt that goes through the fitting, and there's a copper washer on each side. The copper washer is there on both sides. Did I get them doubled up? I don't see an extra washer. Can't really clean it up with the wire brush. All right, now try pumping it up. Just hold it down. Oh yeah, a lot of air and a little fluid. Okay, let it up slow, pump it up again. Better? Yeah. Oh, I didn't drop it in the bucket, but I broke the bucket. That sounded like mostly fluid, and it was a lot of fluid running under the line, so we should have all the air out. All right, let them up slow. Pump them up again. How do they feel?
I feel like I got some pedal now.
Okay. Well, the rotor is shiny, so we know the front brakes are working, so that's a plus, and I think we fixed our leak. That might have been part of the issue. Now we'll pull a wheel off and adjust them rears up, see if that helps out. They seem like they're pretty tight, but I got this handy dandy tool. We can measure the inside of the brake drum, and then we put it up to the outside of the shoes, and we'll see just where it's at. You can get this tool on Amazon as well, just like every other tool that I use, other than the old school cool tools. Looks like we're right where we need to be. I can maybe adjust them out just a hair. And the way we adjust them out is that spanner wheel and that adjuster down there. Push it down to adjust it out. You can always tell by the way this bad boy pushes on it. So again, you can tell this brake's been working by how shiny it is inside the drum on the brake shoe surface. Maybe went out too much. Come on now. So close. All right, we better adjust it in some more. Perfect. Now I'm gonna go do the same thing on the other side. The drum on the passenger side was adjusted up fine. This thing hasn't had an oil change in who knows how long, and it's been running poorly, so it's probably full of fuel. Well, let's change the oil on this thing. That Napa Gold filter, which should be a Wix, doesn't look that old actually. Hey, is that a date? I418. Let's just, no. 0304 22 C2. Should we assume that that's March 4th, 2022? Well, that's convenient because it's March 4th, 2025 today, so 3 years is the date that that filter was made. And that's if my assumptions are correct, and you know what assuming does. Anyway, let's change the oil in this thing. Oh yeah, that's a little milky. I can smell the fuel. And if I can smell the fuel, it's bad, because I can't smell nothing. Thank you, Chevrolet, for putting the oil filter right next to the drain plug, so you only need one pan to change oil. And thank you to Ed for making the headers clear the oil filter. All right, she's ready for some fresh farm store 10W30 conventional oil. One more thing while we got her up in the lift. It sits too high. I measured from the floor to the bottom of the wheel well, or the center of the wheel opening, and it's 29 inches, 28 3/4 to be exact, and that's too high, so let's get the torch out, cut a coil out of this bad boy, and then get her sitting a little bit better. I'm a 2-coil guy, but we'll just cut it with 1 coil, because usually if you cut 2 coils, then you gotta go lower in the back, and that involves flipping it. We're not gonna put a flip kit in this thing. We're just gonna cut a coil, because we're lazy. And it's gonna be great. So I'm sure you guys have seen me lower a gazillion vehicles, but I'm gonna show you the proper way to cut a coil. Is there a proper way? Anyway, where the pigtail ends is where you want to make your cut. You know what I'm saying? You gotta cut a full coil or half coil and rotate it. Let me show you. So you see the bottom of this control arm, see that little bump there? That's where the coil lands. And that little bump holds the coil in place. So we gotta cut it so that it stays in that pocket so that the coil won't come out. So where my fat, not yet smashed left finger is, that's where we gotta cut her off. So we're gonna cut her right there, and then we gotta cut that coil in half so we can get it fished out of there. If we don't cut it in half, we gotta split the ball joint to get it out of there, and we're lazy, we don't wanna split the ball joint. And if we cut 2 coils, then we gotta cut the bump stop out, so we don't wanna get that far. We save that for the professional lowering jobs. This is like a DD Speed Shop lowering job. We're just hacking it up. I just say DD Speed Shop and you get all angry. Gonna get our pry bar ready. Gonna go put on my safety goggles and my safety gloves. Be careful with springs, kids. You don't want to pinch your finger. Ow! Looks like that glove's already been pinched. We need a glove sponsor around here. Here goes nothing. Always make sure you clean the dirt out of there first, because sometimes I've torched these springs off and found out that there's another coil hidden down there in the dirt. Don't screw up like me. Learn from my mistakes. You don't want your finger in there when that happens. Now we gotta fish the full coil that is cut into half coils out of there. Pry that coil, what's left of it, back into place and we'll be good to go, other than doing the other side. And just like so, 1 coil lower. So the reason we cut coils here at Mortske Repair is because we don't cut corners. And cutting a corner would be heating a coil. You can also heat the coil at the very bottom or the very top. You don't want to heat it in the middle. Man, I've seen guys do it. That's the worst. If you heat the coil, it compresses. But when you do that, you take away the effective spring rate of your coil. So you don't want to do that. And if you heat it in the middle, then the coil kind of goes wonky and goes bing, bong, boing, and bounces out of place when you drive it. So don't heat coils. Everyone says, when you cut them, they ride terrible. No, we lost a little bit of travel, but are you ever using all of that travel? And if you cut off the bump stop, you gain that much more travel than you had before. So you're right back to where you were. You might bottom out because you might hit a bump that's a certain height that bottoms it out, but you don't lose any travel, you don't make it ride any worse. So don't cut corners, cut coils. That's what we need to make a decal. Don't cut corners, cut coils.
You ain't dropping if you ain't bump stopping.
You ain't dropping if you ain't bump stopping. All right, I'm gonna go to the other side. I think I figured out how these guys lowered this thing. Here's that pocket back here where my finger that's blown out is. And the spring isn't even sitting in it, and you can see by the end of that spring that that's not a factory cut. Somebody has already cut these off. So somebody must have already cut a coil. We're gonna cut another coil for 2 coils. Hey, Broccoli Top! You should, you didn't dye your mustache yet?
No.
Is that what you went to your grandma's for yesterday? You had your grandma permanent your hair?
No.
Did you lose a bet?
No.
ADD ideas, got it.
Shake it. Shake it? No shake. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're gonna have to work on that. Your mom was wondering where your eyeliner pen went.
Oh, yeah.
How's it coming in?
It's,
Did you shave it?
I did.
Oh! Wah, wah, wah.
We're not about shaving here.
Losers. All right, I gotta get back to work. There we go, much better. Now it's sitting in the pocket. And if you're not a believer in cutting coils, just go ask Chin. He's got like 30,000 miles on his pickup since he cut his coils, and it works great. And there's probably at least 4 in the yard that we drive the crap out of that have cut coils, and they work just fine. Because if you buy drop coils, they're just regular coils that are cut down shorter, and they're maybe a little bit stiffer, so they ride rougher. And guess what? If you cut coils and you don't like it, you can always put stock coils back in there and buy drop spindles or buy drop springs. But this is basically free. Just be very careful because there's a lot of tension on that spring. Or better yet, split your ball joints, take it out on the ground, and then cut her with a 4.5-inch angle grinder or a chop saw if you don't have a torch. Or take it to somebody who's got a torch. Now it's time to dump in our Harvest King conventional SAE 10W30 oil for gasoline engines only, and to measure our ride height. Bing bong bang. Oh yeah, way better. Oh, it's still on the lift, so it's gonna be even lower. And the final answer, 27 inches. So we dropped 1 3/4 inches by cutting 1 coil out of there. We should still have the exact same ride as we had before. Let's dig into this tune-up issue. I'm gonna pull the cap off, see how the inside of that looks, maybe pull a spark plug, turn up the idle a little bit. I don't know, see what happens. But it could run a little bit better. Runs pretty good, but we'll do a little checking up on it. Well, I ain't no expert, but those AC Delco CR43 TS plugs look just right. Like a perfectly browned marshmallow. We'll check a couple more, but I think we're doing all right with the spark plugs. They're not all full of oil and gasoline, so we'll be all right. And you don't want them super white, because that means she's running lean, right? Yeah. All right, everything looks pretty good in the distributor cap, so let's call it good on the old tune-up. All right, I haven't really showed you guys the inside of this thing, but we got to fix this seat. Duff does not approve. Oh, this bad boy is a Cheyenne Super, 67 to 72. That was the highest trim package. You could get a Cheyenne, and then there was the Cheyenne Super. It's got the little Durango emblem, I would call it, but that's a Longhorn, probably. And then the Silverado came out, and these are, oh, it's got a bottle opener. What a deal. Allstate Peterbilt. And yeah, she's got the quartz clock up here. I have no idea what those lights are for. That's for your NOS. You got a giant red light, a little red light, a yellow light, and a green light. It's almost like a stoplight. No radio, unfortunately. But check this out. The Coleman shock pump. It's got a pressure gauge on the left-hand side, and then you can pump it up, pump it down. Don't work no more, unfortunately. And then the Cheyenne Super must have got you the wood grain dash, wood grain door panels. Oh yeah, nothing but the finest. I think something used to be here. I think there was pockets right here for storing all your stuff. I already kind of cleaned out the glove box. There was a whole bunch of lug nuts in here. Let's see what this bad boy had for options. Oh, it had the factory painted rear step bumper, a color combination B, whatever that is, saddle interior, Cheyenne Super, AM radio, variable ratio power steering, 350 V8, rear sliding window, factory, soft ray glass. There's a fleet side with the heavy duty rear springs, not anymore. The turbo hydromatic transmission, heavy duty 80 amp alternator, and vinyl interior, which is now not vinyl. And I don't think the velour interior or the sunroof or the crushed velvet was factory either. There was a pile of lug nuts in here for custom wheels, so I nabbed those. We got ourselves a Sun Super Tac 2. Oh yeah, it's not hooked up. Well, there's a ground screw going through the floor pan over there. Speaking of floor pans, the guy put new ones in, and he did an all right job. Way better than pole barn. No sheet metal screws required. Oh yeah, there was a box of pop rivets in here, so maybe some of it's pop riveted in, but I didn't see any pop rivets, so who knows. Looks like they saved some seat tracks for mounting these seats in there. Those sure look like the factory bench seat brackets. Did you know that you could get these pickups with factory buckets and a console? Yeah, pretty rare, but they were out there. I think I've only ever found one. Looks like this is the seat belt bracket for whatever they got these seats out of. Oh, he didn't fix that hole in the floor though. Whoops. I'm currently debating whether it's not worth stealing a bench seat out of and putting in this pickup, because we're not keeping it. One of you guys is gonna own this thing, or somebody else, or it's just gonna rot away out back. I'm not putting a bench seat in this thing. Chop tops, I would probably mess with it, but the sunroof ruined it for me, unfortunately. So no sunroof life for this guy. My Ram 2013 has a power moonroof in it. It's terrible. It cuts into your headroom, and that's about the only thing. Oh, my Suburban's got one in it too, I think. We don't use either of them. Sunroofs, bad idea. T-tops, on the other hand, pretty sweet. Yeah, Dirt Reynolds got the old T-tops. I think we got, is that Camaro out back got T-tops too? We did a video on it, like a 78 8 Camaro? Yeah, anyway. Don't do sunroofs. All right, I'm gonna see if I can find some wood blocks and some sheet metal screws and mount this seat up proper. It'll at least be par for the course for what the seat is. Seat belt, seat tracks, we don't need those. We'll throw the seat tracks in our stash. Seat belt bracket can go in the scrap. All right, what can we do here? Duff would probably just like it better if we just threw this seat away. Yeah, come on now. Oh, there's no tracks on this seat. Oh, there is. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Do we want to drill more holes in the floor for silly seats? I think not. I think we're just gonna ditch this seat. Duff's gonna have to stay at home or ride in the bed or man up and sit on the floor, peek out the window. Because these seats are silly. Check out how good these floors are. They're so good that they hold coolant. Oh yeah, super solid. And this is why the seat didn't want to sit right. You could see the brackets were kind of scratching there, and then maybe one was sitting here, and you would want to teeter all the time because there's no support over there, and we're not going to weld to these floors or cut them up or drill or make any brackets because it's not worth the effort. It needs a factory bench seat or a custom seat or a console. I don't know. Not these Transcon buckets. Pretty solid bones though in here at least. It's got that going for it. Little body filler cracking out here where the chop top happened. Overall, pretty decent job though. She's starting to show her age a little bit. A lot of filler up top. Well, not a lot, but a lot less now. Conveniently enough, we got a twin to this thing. One of the neighbors says, hey, will you look at my father-in-law's pickup? And I said, we don't really do customer work, but for a square body, we could probably make it happen. Pretty light duty work here, but check this thing out. Basically the same color, 4-wheel drive, half-ton, long bed. How neat is that? Got the chicken chasers on the roof. I think it's 78, he said. Look at how windy it is. Kool-Aid Man's about ready to rip off the pole. Man, we got all the 70s 4-wheel drives out here today. Ugh, and then the Mustang. But anyway, I wanted to see how much of a chop this is. So the window opening about in the center is 14 3/8 on this one, and it's 18 7/8 on that one. So it's got 4.5, 4 3/8 inch chop. So now we know 4.5 inch chop. You can brag to people about how much your square body's chopped when you buy this thing. Here you go. Stock height top alongside a brown sugar. 4.5 inch chop top right there. What do you like, Duff? He says chop top for him. I'm more of a stock top guy. Man, that is a good looking rig, especially now that we got her lowered. He's come down a little bit more in the rear, but we'll leave that up to the next owner, huh, Duff? While I'm messing around with the square bodies, Mojo gets sourced with the old GMT 800s. The 90s working pretty good here. We're working all the bugs out. Mojo has got the terrible job of putting axle seals in this thing. They were leaking. Like I said, this thing's got over 300,000 miles on it, so everything's wore out, and we're constantly fighting leaks, it seems like. So now the front diff is out. It's kind of a chore. Well, it wasn't really that bad. With a lift, it's okay, but in order to get the seals in, you got to drop the diff out. In order to drop the diff out, you got to split the steering, which we already split all that because we replaced all that. But here's what it is. The driver's side shaft just pops right out. Passenger side, you got to take this extension off, then you got to pry that gear off, and you got to make sure you get the shift fork back in place. And it was leaking out of here anyway, so we'll get that sealed up. So he's gonna get that all cleaned up and hopefully get her back on the road so we can get some more miles on it this winter, because winter is here for a while yet. Like I said, it's the 4th of March today, so we get storms well into April some years, but it's been a mild winter. It's been pretty warm other than a spell where it was super cold for about 2 weeks, and we probably only got 2 good blastings of snow, so we're doing all right. And check this out, the old OBS, a little bit of an alignment issue. Crappy part is we just had that thing aligned, so hopefully it all goes back together the same way. DB's back there washing the Ram after it came back from the Lincoln, Nebraska swap meet, which was a good time. Oh man, does that ever look better sitting on the ground. This bad boy's ready for some gas and go for a test drive tomorrow, I think. All right, baby, the mullet is back. This is a perfect ride for it. So Duff and I are gonna take this hot rod for a spin. We fixed the coolant leak. We got Duff a seat here. He says, paint me like one of your French girls. We got the sunroof. The only thing it's letting in now is the sun, not the wind. What else we do? I don't know. We took the tack out. We got all this crap out of the interior. We lowered this bad boy. It looks so much gooder. The only thing lower than the suspension is the roof. All right, let's test this thing out. Oh yeah. We raised the RPMs, but we lowered the roof. Here we go. Oh yeah, we lowered your seat too. So you got the same amount of headroom with the lowered top. You're not impressed? You're about to be. We made the brakes better. Not a lot, but they're better. Wah! Come on, shift, baby! There we go. Must have just started off in second, because we don't need first where we're going. This baby just rips. I might be a header believer now. Woo! Kind of want to take the whole top off and let my mullet flow. Duff likes it even better. We don't need no bench seat. Just throw a dog bed in a bucket, we're good to go. Roof's a little bit low, my mullet touches her. 4.5 inches might be a bit too much, maybe just take 2.5 inches off the top. Tell your haircut lady that next time you're in there with your square body. But don't take anything off the back. Tell you what, it's got the porno paneling on the doors just like the basement in your parents' house. It's got that crushed velvet interior. You don't want that on your casting couch though, no sir. This steering wheel's stickier than that same aforementioned casting couch, I bet. This steering wheel's stickier than a Walmart toilet seat though. Don't you worry, when you own this bad boy, you can put a chain link one on there. Get that matching skull or 8-ball knob to go for the door locks and the shifter as well. Oh yeah. 8-ball. Oh no, not that kind of 8-ball stuff. It's too early for that. It's got that perfect cut down slide rear window for throwing your empty Budweisers out. This thing is meant to cruise. All right, you ready to do a burner, Duff? Oh yeah. Let's lay one down for the ladies. Oh yeah! She handles corners, she goes straight, she hauls loads. This baby will do everything you need it to do. Oh yeah. It's even got a hitch on the back, but all you're gonna be pulling with this bad boy is tail. This is what this bad boy is meant for. Back roads, gravel, cruising. Oh yeah. Woo! She kicks up some rocks, Duff. These tires must have a little bit too much tread on them yet. We probably better take some of that off. The old-fashioned way. Oh, baby. A little bit of Duke boys going on here. Hang on, Duff. Oh, yeah. It even backs up, but you're not going to need to because the way the ladies is running after you, you might hit them. Oh, I don't know what that was that flew out of the bed, but we probably didn't need it. Just a good old boys. Never meaning no harm. That's just a little bit more than the normal. ain't no hum. Should learn the rest of the words to the song. Well, that one ain't nearly as good to slide. She really barks though. No, Duff, you don't need to bark. Oh baby, she's got some bark, but she's got a lot of bite too to go with that bark, don't she, Duff? Oh yeah. She's got some get up and go. She'll bury that 100 needle. You know she will. Wrap that sucker right around. She'll twist her right off. And she'll jump a pop can off the line. You know it. A little bit of belt squeal going on there, but there's a whole lot more tire squealing action going on. Little valve floating going on there and a whole lot of smoke. It's okay, she's a race car engine. She's built for it, Duff. Oh yeah, she pulls real hard off the line. Like I said, Coke cans, no problem. She'd probably jump a silo with them front wheels. Maybe just likes the gravel better, Duff. There you are, baby. You get yourself one of these and you'll be growing one of these in no time. All right, boys and girls, thank you very much for watching. Price and availability on brown sugar in the video description. Go ahead, check out our other videos. Comment down below if you want to see more mullet action. Hit us up, mortskerepair@gmail.com if you want to own this thing. And remember, it doesn't matter how you get it done, as long as you're having fun. Chop square bodies and mullets. You don't get much more fun than that. So that's what I seem to remember with this thing, having to play with the foot. That guy in the little coat. Are you jonesing for? Can't even do it. Well, just got a call from the neighbors, and apparently they're having some problems loading up a John Deere corn planter. So he traded it off. The company's there to pick it up. It's not going so well, so we're gonna take the telehandler over there and give him a hand, because we do it all around here. You wanna take that over there and do it? I don't think Ray's gonna make the cut. You got this.